about time I give you guys a Forge tour, because I've been doing all these videos but not necessarily showing you around, and the layout's going to change very slightly soon, so I thought I'd get in before the whole place goes to hell because I'm rearranging everything. So I've been working all day, so excuse the schmutz all over my face. Caught myself with a grinder spark in the nose too, so if I start bleeding, don't freak out. It's just part of my day. So yeah, let's start out with a bit of a walk around, shall we? First things first is my main use anvil, the one that everyone keeps saying is wobbly. Drives me mental. Not as wobbly as it looks, it's just that I've got a dirt floor shop, as you can see, and so sometimes I don't reposition it quite right. I only really take the time to stabilize it if I need it to be stable, and with the sort of things that I do, I don't often need it to be that stable. This anvil is the one that I use when I'm doing demonstrations, so it needs to stay portable and not fixed down. Also needs to stay fairly movable, which is easy because it's only 66 pounds. Nice and small, but it is cast steel with a 58 Rockwell, so it is a bit of a workhorse despite the fact that it is teeny tiny compared to many other people's. So I don't use it for any sort of striking operations. I have it a little higher than I might normally, maybe about an inch higher than knuckle height. That's a personal preference. A lot of people that tell you that you should absolutely have your anvil at knuckle height. There's no real hard and fast rule. It should be around knuckle height, give or take what's appropriate for you. So personal comfort plays a big role in that, and so I like to keep mine just slightly higher than knuckle height. So when I'm doing striking operations, I don't use this. It's A, too small, and B, a proper cast steel anvil. I'm not going to use it for striking. I use this one here, which you've probably seen. This is actually made from two railroad tracks side by side. One of them has been brought out to a very fine, sharp point, which is great for my jewelry work, and the top of it is faced with forklift tine. It's a beast of an anvil. It was made for me by my mate Lucas over at Alpha Forge in Brisbane, and I have it set quite low. It's below hip height, but that broad face is great for flatting operations, but mainly I use it for striking because this thing, being paired up railroad tracks with a forklift tine on the top, is pretty much indestructible. It has an awful clack to it, so I don't use it often. It sounds awful, as railroad track anvils tend to do. The void in the center I've filled with sand and oil, and I've chained it and magnetized it, and it was a lot worse, believe it or not. Hard to believe, but it was worse. So it's gotten better, but still, really I use it for scrolling work, detail work. The horn of it near the actual base of the horn here is pretty much representative of a human wrist in shape. That's deliberate because I do a lot of jewelry work, so it makes making bracelets really easy. It's kind of like an inbuilt jig, but it also provides a shallow dome for hammering out complex sort of recurve bevels and things like that. It's brilliant for that. I am getting a new anvil as my daily use. Instead of the old faithful here, you can actually see on the ground down there is a 345 pound M&H Armitage Mousehole Sawyer's anvil. You'll notice it has no horns on it. That's because it is a Sawyer's pattern anvil used to make the old lumber mill saw blades back in the day, or the big old push saws and things. And next year will be its 200th birthday. It's on loan to me and from the estate that I live on, which is a historic estate. And they have given me full permission to clean it up and put it back into service. However, you may have noticed on the foot of a mousehole anvil is about twice the size of the face, which means finding a stump to mount that to, because Alex likes his stumps. Finding a stump big enough to actually mount that has been a challenge, and which is why I haven't put it to use yet. But I do have one being delivered, hopefully this week, but maybe soon in any case. But the stump itself is probably going to be about 400 pounds, so I've got to rearrange the shop quite a bit because it's going to be taking the place of this one here, and this one's probably going to move to the side. I haven't quite figured that out yet, because having a portable anvil in your shop is quite good, especially in a cold climate like this. If you're trying to do forge welds, you really want an anvil right near your forge so you can bring the hot steel out and hit it, set that weld. Same for Damascus. The air here, like I'll be working in negative 10 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is. Was that about 20 degrees Fahrenheit or something? So when you pull hot steel out of the forge, it's essentially being air quenched, which is not good for forge welds. So having an anvil that I can actually just pick up, take over to my forge, and have it right there is very useful. So next to my anvil setup, I have the most beautiful old post vise. It's a big 6-inch jaw post vise, weighs about 90 kilos. It is huge. It is a chunky post vise. And on the side of it, I actually have a good old adjustable twisting wrench that I made up from an old monkey wrench. It does a good job, and it just lives permanently next to on the stand next to the post vise. If you haven't yet got a post vise, they are indispensable. If you can find one, get it. On the side of my striking anvil, you can see my brushes. I have my steel wire brush and also a brass brush. Brass brushes are the bomb. If you're not using brass brushes in your work yet, definitely get on top of that. The back of the striking anvil tends to be a bit of a catch-all for things. Trying to develop better habits, but you know what it's like. I don't need to tell you. I keep my big block brush over here on my swedging stand. It's also a catch-all, but the swedging stand actually has my swage block on it, and that can be lifted out and put horizontal to drift through, or it can be stood up on end to get to the various sides of the swage block. I also keep my borax up here. I've got a big tub of borax, but I like to have a little shaker as well. Helps me get that fine detail. What else have we got here? Alrighty, we got the forge, of course, which is still hot from a day's work. I've been doing a lot today. I got up early to do extra work. This forge is revision like 6 of forges that I have owned, and this is the first one that has been fully my design, exactly the forge that I wanted, basically, not compromising or making do with scrap that I could find to fabricate the forge. This is exactly the forge that I want, and it is phenomenal. It is lean, it uses barely any fuel, it holds heat like you wouldn't believe. It gets to steel melting temperatures with almost no effort. I mean, look at this. I have a tiny little hand crank blower. It is little. This is very, very small. But this is plenty of air for this. My old forges, I used to have to like really gun it, as you've seen in past videos. Let me get that better. There we go. This one here, to actually get a really good, decent amount of air, I move it about this. It's just nice casual. That's about it. And this makes that thing absolutely raw. Love it. So, designed from the ground up, laser cut for me by a friend of Sam Towns, and I assembled it, and it has been working fantastically. You'll notice the windshield that I've got around it. Charcoal forges are dusty and sparky, so if there's even a slight gust of wind, and as you see, I've got an open front to my forge, so when it starts getting windy, you don't want coals being thrown around, so this windshield just drops in the top, and it completely eliminates the problem. If I'm trying to do some Damascus, for example, and I really want to hold the heat in there, I put a top plate on as well, and it really just closes up the front, holds that heat in there. So I don't know whether or not anybody else is interested in this design of solid fuel forge. If you are, let me know down in the comments, and I have been thinking of maybe starting to sell plans to build this so that you can actually build this and replicate it yourself, because it is awesome. Ash dump down the bottom there. I could not be happier with this forge. Everything about it is perfect. So I'll be using it for quite some time. In the space next to it here, soon there's going to be a gas forge, which I've been working on. If you follow my Instagram, you've probably seen it. I'm not a fan of gas forges in general. However, where I live now, there are quite strict fire bans over summer. Bushfires are a big problem down here. So when the fire bans kick in, I'll be switching to a gas forge because that's still legal to use, and then I'll be going back to a solid fuel forge once the fire bans are over. But it's going to pretty much permanently live next to it, and I'll only ever have one or the other running, depending on what season it is. So down here, you've all seen my rack before. I like to show off my rack on YouTube. This is where I keep all the hammers, although because I'm in the middle of my workday, they're kind of all over the shop at the moment. But just fabricated out of steel. My old one was made of wood, and it served its purpose, but the original one was designed with caster wheels and everything on to roll around the shop. And I never moved it. I just kept it still. So I thought, stuff it. I'm just going to build a big, heavy steel one, never move it. And so far, it's worked great. It holds quite a bit of stuff, as you can see. All my tongs down the bottom, hammers at the top. Got my little Dan Moss style tong clips. Awesome design, Dan. You do them better than I do. I tend to be like, oh man, I need this clamp. Quickly smash it out, quick and dirty, chuck it on the tool rack, and then forget about it and let them rust. I tend to lose them in the dirt floor and have to keep making new ones. On the side, I've got a little tool rack with various size chisels, punches, party tools, a angle grinder wrench, because I lose these things. It's my curse. Wherever I go, I lose them. I've had to rebuy these so many times. I wish they would make them with like a little pocket clip so that I could, keep it in there. But I've even had them loose in here and they fall out while I'm working. So it's sort of, I don't know, little gremlins come and take it. My Tomter, my workshop Tomter keeps stealing it. So it lives in there so that I always have one, and when I go, damn it, and can't find it, I know there's going to be one there. And I'm very strict about it not leaving there for longer than it takes to change a disc. I also keep a telescopic magnet here for checking when steel is past critical. Very good for bladesmithing. Right, next to that. Oh, that was a bit Niels Vanderberg there. Right. Big Blue here contains all of my green coal. Now, green coal, as I'm sure you know, totally unburnt, not heat treated. And it's all these kind of longish bits. I get them from the guy that provides the... He provides all of the charcoal grill restaurants in town, and he was very excited to actually supply charcoal to a blacksmith as well. It's a great price. He delivers it to me. I don't even have to leave the house. He just brings it. Awesome. Ali, if you're watching this, you're a legend. However, you'll notice these pieces are quite large. For most of what I do, that's not a problem. It really is not. It burns down, and this thing's so efficient that it burns through them and they fall apart in the forge just fine. However, if you're doing forge welding, Damascus, or heat treating of any kind, trying to do a quench, you want to have a very specific heat, and you want to hold that heat, you need cracked coal. Cracked coal is basically, it's burnt in a little bit, it's smaller pieces, no bigger than like a golf ball, and that way you minimize the amount of airflow that's in there, because any space that's left, gaps between the coal, is just air being introduced. So when it's smaller pieces, there's less space between the bits of coal, so it ends up being, less oxygen in there, and because it's sort of pre-burnt in, it sucks any air out, because it's, basically burning a second time, and it pulls air out, and it gives you a nice reducing fire. So if I'm doing forge welding or Damascus setting or quenches, I don't use that coal. That's just my general forging coal. Down here next to my swage block, I have this bucket, which is full of burnt-in cracked coal. It's small pieces, and I can just load it in as I need it. It's a pain to make, so I just make it enough to fill that, because one of those is pretty much enough to get me through a whole day of Damascus work, really. So that basically is what that's there for, because I have had people comment before saying, oh, the bits of coal you're putting in are huge. And yeah, they are, but I know. I know. So down here is my sort of, let me get down. I'm not a young man anymore. So down here is my sort of tool catch-all. It's rough. Messy as hell. I got guillotine tools, drifts, the famous goggles, which I don't need to use as much down here. The open air forge gets much better airflow and sparks don't tend to fly into my eyes as readily. I've got some beeswax bars here for the traditional beeswax finish, which is lovely. Hydration, very important. Files for cleanup work. I got monkey tools, scrap bits of steel, my bending jigs, which you've seen in a past video. Bit of everything, really. And chalk and a duster, because up there I have a chalkboard. The chalkboard is because I'm going to soon be selling video lessons on very specific things like knife making for smiths new to the craft to actually learn from. They're going to be nicely edited and put together and very thorough. So chalkboard is very good for doing demonstrations. It's also good when I have students in the forge because I'm terrible at explaining things, as anybody who has watched my videos would know. And also a stool, because I'm lazy and like to sit down. And normally I'd be able to sit down on my swaging stump, but I usually cover it in crap, and that's not very good. So that is about steel collection. So I have 3 steel collections in here. 1 mild steel, all different varieties. I like to use a lot of scrap mild steel, but sometimes you need very specific dimensions and it just really helps to have them, so it all just gets stood up there. Over here is my salvaged steel. Salvaged steel down next to Roy's house there. That's where Roy lives. Hi, Roy. Everybody say hi, Roy. Salvaged steel, stuff that I know is good or usable in some way. Bale spikes, coil springs, drive axles. It's all good stuff. And it's all got uses. I've got 2 whole bloody forklift tines down there. Look at that. They're huge. They weigh a ton. But over here I have hardenable steels, which any knife maker should definitely separate. But I mean, I keep them all separate over here. I've got files in there. I've got farrier's rasp. I've got farrier's rasp coming out my bloody butt. There's so many farriers in the country, and they, as soon as they get even slightly blunt, they want to throw them away. So it looks like a pile of rebar here, but it's actually my handles that I've pre-welded billets to. Leaf spring, and in case I run out of leaf spring here, I have 1 or 2 on the floor here, including some drive shafts, which are going to be used to make some hammers and or axes. What else have we got? That's about it. More charcoal, just in case Big Blue gets empty. And all of this is going to be rearranged because from this perspective, looking at the front, that, where are we? That anvil is going to be mounted on a stump and replacing this anvil. We've got the coal forge, the gas forge is going to be next to it, which means everything else is going to have to shift around a little bit. That way? Yeah, there we go. Trying to do everything backwards. Shift around that way in the circle. As you'll notice, it is largely a circle. The reason for that, and the reason I like it being a circle, is that when I am in the center of the workshop, it is 1 step to my forge, 1 step to my anvil, 1 step to my twisting station, 1 step to my striking anvil. Everything is 1 step away, and I like to keep that just because, A, it's really good when you need to do quick things like quenches or Damascus setting, forge welds, that sort of thing. It's also safer, and it's more ergonomic because you're not running around all over the place like a chicken with a head cut off trying to get to things. Tooling I like to keep at the back because, as you can see, the tools that I'm using actually tend to wander out to accompany me during the day. So it's one of those things. One thing I did forget is underneath my tooling, miscellaneous tooling shelf, I do have a few other things. Now I've got borax here. I have a big rock of German flint sent to me by Stefan Mierke. I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. I've only ever seen it written. He's German, he's awesome, and he's my #1 super fan. At the end of this video, I'm going to actually show you a surprise that he sent me a huge surprise. It's terribly cropped video, but you'll still get the gist of it. But next to the flux, that's my borax. That's how I summon Roy. You open a jar of borax and Roy will show up to scold you. I have rice bran oil for anything that requires food grade oil finishes, like cutlery. I have boiled linseed oil in a nice open mouth tub, so I can dip swatches of fabric in there and put a linseed oil finish on steel to get a traditional, it's called a blacksmith finish. I have canola oil. I apologize, Niels, if you are watching this. Niels van der Berg does not like people who use canola oil, but I have a lot of leaf springs over there, so canola oil it is. My main quenchant, though, here is a Parks 50 sort of equivalent high-speed oil, fully synthetic. It's beautiful. It does incredible heat treatment work. And it's not cheap, so it gets locked up nicely there. And of course, the trauma kit. If you do not have a trauma kit in your forge, you are being irresponsible. Just like if you have expensive third files and you do not have a file card with them, you are being irresponsible. So that is that, pretty much. And how nice is it to get to have a forge that looks out over a view like that? Really, it's just incredible. Every day I'm just looking at nothing. Mountains in the distance. Sometimes rain, sometimes fog, sometimes hail, sometimes snow. It has snowed here. It gets very cold. But when you are in an enclosed environment like this, even with the big open front like that, when you've got a forge going, a coal forge, keeps you very warm. Very, very warm. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed that forge tour. If you have any questions about any of the gear that I use, please don't hesitate to ask, and I'll do my best to answer it. In the meantime, I'm going to get back to work because it's starting to get late. So I will cut to the video that I filmed earlier of me opening up Stefan's amazing 2-crate gift package that he sent me to sort of help motivate me and fatten me up because it's full of chocolate, German chocolate. And don't get used to this svelte figure of a man that you see before you, because there was a lot of chocolate in those boxes. But I'll leave you guys with that video, and I'll see you on the next one, which is a collaboration. I know I've been saying it for the last 50 videos, but the next video I put out is a collab vid, and I'm very excited about it. Just trying to find the time has been tricky, and I apologize to the wonderful person with whom I am doing this video collaboration. So I'll catch you guys later. I'm going to get back to work. Keep on keeping on. Keep your forges hot. Keep the fire lit. See ya. Alright, so I had a bit of a surprise turn up for me. The #1 Valhalla Ironworks superfan, Stefan, sent me not one, but 2 large boxes like this, all the way from Germany. Now, I don't know what's in them. I sort of have some ideas. He's hinted at some things, but one of the things I said I'd do is open them on a YouTube video so he can actually see my response. Now, the first one's up here, second one's waiting over down there. The bottom of the second one was a little moist, which makes me worry because these were stuck in customs for a little while because there's an international outbreak of swine flu, so they're checking things a little bit more stringently than they normally would. So hopefully it wasn't jostled around and had something break or melt. So let's see how we go. Thank you very much, Stefan. Now everybody gets to see how awesome you are. Stefan is scarily generous with what he gives to people in the blacksmithing community. He also buys things off my Amazon wish list for me. Custom tooling and things. So, oh, good heavens, I'm going to get fat. I think Stefan is obsessed with making me fat. Alright. Oh, the smell coming out of this. Oh, man. Okay, so we've got Kinder chocolate. Oh, man. That's going to last about 5 minutes. Whoa, very fancy 99% cacao from Panama chocolate. Now that looks kind of moist. Hopefully it hasn't melted. That's alright. It'll melt in my mouth. 99% fine dark chocolate. That's incredible. That smell. You know, I've never actually had proper chocolate. I've always had that dodgy milk chocolate. Hanutas. He sent me some of these last time. He sent me a care package, and they are amazing. They're so good. It's sort of like, if you can imagine, you know, those sort of ice cream wafery sort of biscuits, flaky biscuits with Nutella in the middle. It's made by the same people, and oh man, they do not last long. 78% cacao chocolate. That one looks like it's been melted as well. It's probably stored in a hot warehouse, but that's alright. It'll be fine. This is Lindt chocolate. 2 of those. Whew. Packages are falling apart. They swell up because of the heat, I think, but it'll still be fine. Oh no, that's 85%. And that's 78%. Good heavens, that's a lot of chocolate. Oh, and it keeps going. Nutella Be Readies. It's sort of like a baked bar thing with Nutella in the middle. 2 boxes of those. Oh, good heavens. I'm going to get so fat. Knoppers. Looks like a little bit like the Hanutons, actually, but with Kinder milk in the middle of them. You know that white stuff in Kinder eggs? Oh, geez. More Knoppers. That's a lot of Knoppers. Oh, man. %60 dark chocolate with hazelnuts in them. And classic, same sort of thing, but it's got like a fudge in the middle. Good heavens. I don't have that big of a sweet tooth, but I think I'm going to by the end of this. Woo! Oh, this definitely melted. What is that? Ritter Sport. Coconut and milk chocolate. And that one's melted too. I think it's another one of these ones. Some sort of filled chocolate. I think they must have stored this in a hot warehouse somewhere. It's all sort of smushed together. More Knoppers. Got Nopper crazy. Yeah, this is definitely what melted. Look at that. Various different flavors of this. Noisette, peanut caramel, mandel caramel. Oh, that's in German. Sort of like chocolate bars that all sort of fuse together. That's alright, I'll just eat them as one. That'll be fine. Whoa, so much chocolate. Some sort of wood. Smells like chocolate. He was sending me some wood. This looks like pine. But it can't be pine. He wouldn't send me pine. It's actually been laminated, look at that. So it's recycled from something. Interesting, I'll have to ask him. He knows that I'm a fan of making Olam sets. So he's been trying to find, maybe it's hickory? He's been trying to find the woods required for it. What's this? Coffee chocolate. Oh, this is actually coffee grounds that are flavored with chocolate, I think. My German's not great. Definitely not fluent. I know some German. That looks like coffee chocolate. Or chocolate coffee. Depending on whether you're left-handed or not. More of the Ritter Sports. More of the Ritter Sports. Every flavour of Ritter Sport. Oh man. Oh, they smell amazing. They smell so incredible. Toffees. Hazelnut toffees. Wow. More Hanutons. Oh, they will not last long. He sent them to me before and they did not last long. Yogurt, strawberry yogurt chocolate. More Lindt, 85% and 70%. Oh. I like cooking with high cacao dark chocolate. And Cardi Fit. Looks like some sort of wafer chocolate. Wow, and that's box 1. Holy hell. Let's get rid of this box and I'll bring the other one up. Ooh, this one's heavier. Whew. That kind of scares me given how much was in that last one. Now this one I think has been opened by customs. If it has, they should have left a little ransom note. Ooh, bubble wrap. I promise I didn't eat any of the chocolate between takes. He has individually wrapped everything in bubble wrap. Oh, more bratwurst in a can. He sent me this before. It's awesome. It's kind of like fancy spam. It's the innards of bratwurst sausages. So it's all of the bratwurst sausage without the casing canned. And you can just eat it. You can recook it. It's smoked ready to eat now, but you can also add it to meals. Metwurst, the same sort of thing. I love metwurst. Any other cans hiding in there? Nope, just the 2. Alright, so we got those. More woods. Ooh. For those playing the outside game, Olam sets are made up of 26 species of wood, and they're all wood that grows in southern Europe, but very few of them grow anywhere near Australia. So Stefan has actually been going through and finding them for me, which is very generous, but also he wanted me to have some interesting blocks of wood for handle scales. Very interesting. I don't know, I'm not good at identifying wood species just by looking at them, but I should be able to match grain. Ooh, look at that, look at the spalting on that. Should be able to stabilize that nicely. That looked like it came right out of the tree. It's probably Stefan out there with a chainsaw in the forests of Germany. Oh, wait, there's more. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Wow. Alright, definitely going to need the knife for this. These are all individually wrapped. And I think I know what it is. Svartenmagen. Now, if you don't know what Svartenmagen is, there are many different names for it in English. Some people call it brawn. I think England, Scotland, and Australia call it brawn. The common term for it is head cheese. Now, head cheese is basically you take a pig or a lamb, sometimes both, and you take the head of them, and lining the inside of the skull is a particular type of gelatin. Now, if you boil the meat from the parts of the head in that gelatin, you get a non-dairy cheese. Now, most people probably don't realize that cheese can be in non-dairy form. non-dairy cheese like this, and it essentially becomes a sort of charcuterie. You can eat it on crackers. It sounds absolutely hideous, but it's one of the most delicious things I've ever eaten in my life. It's so good. And Stefan has sent me various flavors of it in the past, and now there's some even more flavors of it, and he's sent a lot by the looks of things. We've got a blue one. I don't know. I don't speak enough German to know, but more Schwarzenmagen the better, if you ask me. What's in this one? Oh, another blue one. Now I imagine this is probably why Customs grabbed this parcel, because it's full of pork products. Man, if you ever want a parcel to be securely wrapped, talk to Stefan. About 800 euros worth of bubble wrap in here. More Schwarzenmagen. Yeah, I can see through. I won't bore you with opening all of those. Oh. There are 4 more jars, so he sent 7 jars. Ooh, this is very heavy. Heavy for something so small. That's what she said. Oh man, Stefan. Look at that. Cubes of solid brass. That is actually a lot of money of brass. That is gorgeous. Look at that. 3 cubes of it. That is a lot of brass. If you think you normally buy it in a sheet that's 1 or 2 mil thick, that's a lot. And in cubes, they're in perfect size for smelting, dropping into a crucible and smelting into pendants or whatever you need it to be. That's amazing. That would have been expensive. Oh man, that's incredible. One last item. These are all Schwarzenmagens. I can't pronounce it. I'm sure Stefan's probably watching this laughing at my horrendous murdering of the German language. That's right, I'm an English speaker, and worse, I'm an Australian English speaker. I have a hard enough time speaking English properly. Good heavens, Stefan. I think you missed a career in building safes. Oh, I think it might even be more Schwarzenmagen. Or maybe not. Ooh. Whoa. Curry bratwurst. Look at that. It's actually chunks of curry bratwurst or currywurst in sauce. I'll have to check the ingredients on that because I'm actually quite badly allergic to capsaicin. So hopefully there's nothing in there that I can't eat. But all the ingredients are listed. So, oh, that looks good. It's literally just chunks of sausage. Can you see that? In sauce. Probably ready to eat too. Whoa. But it all survived, Stefan. That is incredible. Thank you so much, Stefan. That's really made my week. I am going to get very, very fat eating all of this. I'm going to have to move all of my forge components outwards so that I can fit in here by the end of the week, eating all of those knoppers. That's incredible. I'm sure everybody else thinks that that's just as amazing as I do. That's really, really awesome. Sent all the way from Germany as well. Stefan's been brilliant. This isn't the first time he sent me a care package, though this is very much the largest. Last time he sent me a large rock of German flint, which I've been slowly breaking up to use for flint strikers, because flint is quite hard to get here, a good flint that's good for strikers. He's also bought, as I said, off my Amazon wishlist, tooling that I've been wanting. He sent me heaps of leatherworking tools, and he sent me that beeswax. He's an incredible guy, and when you are a struggling sort of indie YouTuber like me and trying to do blacksmithing to get by, getting little care packages like that, it just makes such a big difference. So thank you so much, Stefan. I hope everybody else enjoyed watching the German delights that he sent come out of the box. And I think I'll leave it at that and start going to eat some of this chocolate. Hope that's all I can think about. Seriously makes my day when somebody shows that kind of love to a little indie YouTuber like me. It's really cool when I hear that you guys like my work. The positive comments that you send me on Facebook, on Instagram, and via the ForgeCast, which you guys seem to be enjoying quite a bit, just means the world, and I love getting the support from everyone. If you want to support me in some way, you can always just leave a like or a comment down below. That always helps. Or say hi in the messages. Otherwise, if you want to get a little bit more hardcore, you can always buy me a coffee down below. One of those sort of one-time donate jobs with no sign-ups or anything like that. You can buy from me on my Etsy store. That's also linked below. Definitely subscribe to me on Facebook and Instagram if you haven't already. And YouTube. I assume you've subscribed. If you haven't, then what are you doing here? Seriously. Subscribing's easy, and I'm lots of fun. And I don't bother you with videos that often. But really, guys, all the links are in the description. The support means the world to me, especially from awesome people like Stefan, who send me such glorious little boxes of inspiration and boxes of goodies. He also has, it's worth noting, has bought some of the things on my Amazon wish list, which is the sort of thing that you set up and don't ever expect anybody to actually touch. So to have somebody actually do that and show that level of support for my business, I mean, I'm trying to do this full time. This is what I do. This is my job. So that sort of support means the world. I'll be back again. Don't worry. I hope you guys have a good time in the meantime. Enjoy yourself. Don't forget to get out into the forge if you can. And look after yourself. Stay safe. And have fun. Catch you later.